I found my son's journal and now I can't sleep at night. I wasn't snooping. I swear to God I wasn't. It was a Saturday afternoon, mid-April, one of those lazy days when you tell yourself you'll finally clean the garage, and instead end up reorganizing one small box and calling it progress. That's what I was doing, looking through old papers in the corner near the tool shelf when I saw the black notebook. It was tucked behind a box of old Christmas decorations. Nothing special about it. No name, no stickers, just a basic spiral-bound journal with slightly worn corners. I picked it up. The first page just had a name scribbled in blocky letters. Jacob. My son. He's 17 now. Quiet. Keeps to himself. Straight A's. Never caused trouble. I always figured he was just private. I tried to respect that. We used to be close when he was a kid, used to build Lego castles together and race Hot Wheels. But high school came, and with it, the silence. Not anger, not rebellion, just distance. I opened the journal, fully expecting to find math notes or dumb doodles. But the first page I landed on started with a date, January 3rd, and the first sentence chilled me. Today I imagined what it would feel like to slit her throat. Not because I want to, but because I need to understand what I'm capable of. I just sat there, notebook in hand, heart thudding. I thought maybe it's fiction. Maybe he's writing a story. Maybe this is some dark, edgy, creative writing. Kids do that, right? But as I flipped through more pages, that idea started crumbling. The entries weren't fantastical. They were brutally honest. Raw. Painfully articulate. Each one read like a confessional, but one he never meant anyone to see. I watch people. I watch how fake they are. Smiling when they hate each other. Pretending. I wonder if I'm pretending too. She touched my shoulder in class today, and I wanted to scream. I hate being touched. I hate pretending I don't. Dad asked me if I was okay. I lied. Again. I'm always lying to him, but he never really wants the truth anyway. I stopped breathing for a second. There were dozens of entries like that. Pages and pages about his hatred for school, for certain classmates, for me. Not violent, not yet, but cold. Analytical, disturbing. And then, one entry, maybe 2 months ago. The fantasy gets stronger. It's like a movie in my head. I see myself pushing someone, watching them fall, hearing the crack when they hit the ground. I wonder if I'd feel guilty, or nothing at all. I slammed the journal shut. I didn't know what to do. Call a therapist? The police? My wife? No, I didn't even tell her. She'd panic. She already walks on eggshells around Jacob. She thinks it's just teenage stuff. She doesn't want to admit that something might be wrong. But I couldn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying the words over and over. I kept the journal hidden in the garage. I didn't want Jacob to know I'd read it. I didn't want him to change the way he wrote, or worse, stop writing altogether. This might be the only honest window I had into his world. For 3 days, I said nothing. I watched him like a stranger. The way he moved, the way he avoided eye contact. On the 4th night, I cracked. I went back to the garage, pulled out the notebook, and started from the beginning. From the very first page. This time I read every word, and what I found made my blood run cold. There were entries about a girl named Chelsea, a classmate. He described her in nauseating detail, the way she smelled, the way she licked her lips when nervous, how she touched her hair during presentations. But what scared me most was how he talked about controlling her. She doesn't know how easy she is to manipulate. All I have to do is ask her about her dog, and she lights up. That's the key. Let them open up. Let them trust you. Then you can do whatever you want. She told me about her little brother today. That was stupid. She doesn't know I remember everything. I could find out where they live. Easy. Just to see. Just to feel what power tastes like. My hands were shaking. This wasn't just dark thoughts. This was planning. And yet nothing had happened. Not that I knew of. He went to school, came home, played video games, ate dinner. No detentions, no police calls, no violent outbursts. But something was building. Then, I hit the final entry. It was dated 3 days ago. Same day I found the notebook. He was in the garage. I don't know how long. I think he saw it. I have to decide what to do now. I can't take that risk." The words were underlined 3 times. I froze. He knew. He knew I saw it, and he hadn't said a word. Just this quiet entry, like a chess move. I sat there for what felt like hours, trying to think. Trying to breathe. That night, I locked the door to our bedroom for the first time in 17 years. I didn't go to work the next day. I told my wife I wasn't feeling well, headache. Maybe a flu coming on. She kissed me on the forehead and left me in bed with a worried look I didn't deserve. The truth was, I needed to be home. I needed to see what Jacob would do. He came down for breakfast like nothing had changed. Same black hoodie, same untied sneakers. He poured cereal without saying a word. I watched him from across the kitchen like he was a stranger. "Did you sleep okay?" I asked. He nodded, spooning frosted flakes into his mouth. Nothing. No hint of anxiety. No question like, "Did you go in the garage?" Or, "Did you see anything?" I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to shake him and yell, "What the hell is wrong with you?" But instead I said, "You need a ride to school?" He blinked, almost confused. No, I'm walking with Chelsea. That name, that girl. I didn't want to panic, didn't want to let it show. But something tightened in my chest. "You see her a lot, huh?" I asked, pretending to be casual. He shrugged. "She's in like 3 classes, and we talk sometimes." He grabbed his backpack and left without another word. I waited 5 minutes, then grabbed my jacket and keys. I followed him in the car slowly, carefully, keeping a block or 2 behind. It wasn't hard. He didn't look back once. I saw her, Chelsea. Petite, blonde, bright blue backpack. She smiled when she saw him, and he smiled back. A real smile, not the cold half-twists he gave us at home. They started walking side by side. He said something and she laughed. Genuinely. For a moment I thought maybe I was overreacting. Maybe he was just a depressed teenager with a dark imagination. Maybe the journal was a way to process things he'd never actually do. But then he did something that made me grip the steering wheel so tight I nearly snapped it. He touched her lower back. Lightly. Like he'd done it 100 times. Like he owned that gesture. And she didn't even flinch. I parked on a side street and waited until they disappeared. Then I sat there for 30 minutes, thinking. Replaying every line from the journal. Every time he said control. Every time he said manipulate. Chelsea was real. And she trusted him. I couldn't just sit on this. That night after dinner I did something I told myself I wouldn't do. I opened Jacob's backpack while he was in the shower. And I found another notebook. This one was newer. Green cover. No name. No stickers. Same scribbled handwriting inside. She told me her dad drinks. That's her weak point. They always have one. I don't even have to push. She's already leaning. I looked up her address. It wasn't hard. I memorized the route. Sometimes I think about telling her everything, showing her who I really am. Just to see the look on her face, just to see what fear really looks like up close. I wanted to vomit. That night, I waited until the house was quiet. Then I opened my laptop and started a new email draft. Subject: urgent concern, possible danger to a student. I was going to send it to the school counselor. I had to. If something happened and I did nothing, I'd never forgive myself. But I didn't send it, because halfway through the email I noticed something strange on my desk. A tiny, perfectly folded square of paper. It hadn't been there before. I unfolded it. It was a handwritten note, in the same sharp, crooked handwriting I'd seen 100 times now. I know what you're thinking, but you don't know the whole story. Read the last page. No name, no explanation. I ran back to the garage, pulled out the first black journal again. The one I thought I had finished. There was one more page stuck to the back cover. I hadn't seen it. It was dated 6 months ago. He touched her in the hallway. Mr. Rollins. She looked so scared, but no one noticed. I saw it. I remembered. I know what that look means. I started following her after that. Not to hurt her, to protect her, to watch. Because nobody else would. That's when the fantasies started. Not about hurting her, about hurting him. My hands went ice cold. The journal hadn't been about Chelsea. It was about her teacher. And the control Jacob was talking about, maybe it wasn't about manipulation. Maybe it was something else. But that just raised more questions. Why not tell us? Why write it all so twisted, so sinister? Why hide it behind pages that made him look like a monster? And more importantly, what the hell was he planning to do? I didn't sleep that night. Every creak in the hallway made my body jolt. Every door closing, every faucet turning on, I thought it was Jacob, sneaking out. I kept picturing him, standing outside Chelsea's window, or outside Mr. Rollins' house. A shadow, a weapon, a plan. The next morning, I called in sick again. My manager sounded annoyed this time, but I didn't care. I had one priority now: stopping my son from doing something irreversible. At 7:45 a.m., Jacob came downstairs like clockwork. Backpack, earbuds, no eye contact. I tried to act normal. "You walking with Chelsea again?" I asked, sipping coffee I wasn't drinking. He nodded. "No words? You two dating or something?" He froze just a blink, then shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe." That maybe wasn't a no, it was enough. As soon as he left, I grabbed my keys and followed him again, slower this time, keeping extra distance. They met in the same spot. Chelsea smiled. He smiled back. Except today, they didn't walk to school. They turned left, toward the other end of the neighborhood. I pulled over behind a parked van and watched them walk together down Maple Street, past the library, past the closed-down diner, all the way toward a white single-story house I didn't recognize. They stopped outside it. Jacob said something. Chelsea hesitated, then nodded. They walked up to the front door. He rang the bell, and Mr. Rollins answered. Even from a distance, I knew it was him. I'd seen him at parent-teacher nights, pale, balding, narrow eyes, always wearing a red windbreaker. He had it on now. He smiled at them. Jacob didn't smile back. I could barely breathe. They walked inside. The door closed, and I lost it. I didn't even remember getting out of the car. I just knew my hand was on Rollins' doorknob before I realized what I was doing. I didn't knock. I pushed. The door wasn't locked. I stepped inside. The house was quiet, too quiet. I couldn't hear Chelsea. I couldn't hear Jacob. I couldn't hear anything. I moved through the hallway like a soldier in enemy territory, adrenaline thudding in my ears. Past the coat rack, past a framed photo of Rollins with a dog. Every step made my legs feel heavier. Then, I heard it. Voices, muffled, coming from behind a closed door down the hall. I crept closer. "You think I don't know what you did?" It was Jacob. Then Rollins. "Jacob, lower your voice. You don't understand." Slam. Something hit the wall hard. A thud, like a chair tipping. Then Chelsea. "Jacob, stop. You're scaring me." That was enough. I kicked the door open. What I saw froze me to the floor. Rollins was backed into a corner, hands up. His glasses were on the ground, broken. Jacob was inches from him, fists clenched, chest heaving. Chelsea stood off to the side, crying. There was no weapon, no blood, no violence, not yet, but I could see it in my son's eyes. He was right on the edge. "Jacob," I said, stepping into the room slowly. "It's okay, I'm here." He didn't even turn. I told him to apologize. Jacob growled. "That's it. That's all I wanted." "Jacob," I said again, firmer this time, "you need to step back. Now." Rollins looked at me like I was his savior. Chelsea looked at me like I was Jacob's executioner. And Jacob, he looked like a kid who didn't know how to stop. "Do you want to get expelled?" I asked. "Arrested? You think this helps her?" He blinked, finally turning to me. For the first time, his eyes weren't angry. They were scared. "I saw what he did," he said, voice cracking. 6 months ago, nobody believed her. She told the counselor. She told everyone. They said she was emotional, that he's a respected teacher. He turned back to Rollins. So I followed him, watched him, waited. I thought if I got close enough I'd catch him, or stop him, or I don't know. He shook his head. I didn't know how to fix it. I just knew I couldn't let him keep getting away with it. And that's when Rollins spoke, his voice quieter now, trembling. "I never touched her," he said. "I swear, I didn't. It's all a misunderstanding. You're just a kid. You put your hand on her thigh during a film," Jacob said, teeth clenched. "You stared when she bent over. You kept her after class. Alone, more than once." Rollins' face went pale. Then Jacob pulled something from his hoodie pocket. "A flash drive. I recorded you," he said. "Last week. Audio." My heart stopped. Chelsea gasped. Rollins didn't speak, didn't move. And that silence, that guilty, frozen silence, was louder than any confession. For a long moment, none of us moved. Jacob stood frozen with the flash drive in his hand. Chelsea wiped her eyes with her sleeve, still pressed against the wall like she didn't know who to be more afraid of, Jacob or Rollins. And Rollins, he just stared at that little piece of plastic like it was a gun aimed at his temple. I stepped forward and gently put a hand on Jacob's shoulder. "Let's go," I whispered. "No." He didn't resist. He just nodded, slipped the flash drive back in his hoodie, and walked past me without looking back. Chelsea followed close behind. I turned to Rollins last. "If what's on that drive is what I think it is," I said coldly, "you need to call a lawyer and a priest." Then I shut the door behind me, hard. We didn't speak in the car. Jacob stared out the window, chewing the inside of his cheek, his leg bouncing nervously. Chelsea sat in the back seat, hugging herself. Her eyes were glassy, but she wasn't crying anymore. I dropped her off first. She didn't say thank you, didn't say goodbye, just got out and walked to her porch without looking back. Jacob and I sat in the driveway for a long minute before I finally broke the silence. "You recorded him without telling anyone?" He nodded slowly. "I didn't know who to trust. I didn't even know if it would work. I had to try something." I exhaled hard through my nose. "Jacob, what you did could have ended so much worse. You understand that, right?" He nodded again. "Yeah, I do." I looked at him. He wasn't crying. He wasn't shaking. He just looked tired, like the weight of everything had finally settled on him. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. My son didn't trust the system. He didn't trust me. He didn't trust anyone to do the right thing. So he took it into his own hands. And somehow he didn't burn everything down in the process. That night, I couldn't sleep. Again. But this time, it wasn't fear keeping me up. It was a question. What do we do now? The next morning, I made a decision. One I wasn't sure Jacob would agree with. Over breakfast, the first meal we'd actually shared in weeks, I placed the flash drive on the table between us. "I'm taking this to the school board," I said, "with Chelsea. And you, if you're willing." Jacob stared at it, then at me. "You think they'll listen this time?" "They'll have to," I said. "With this, they can't pretend anymore." He didn't respond right away, just kept looking at the flash drive like it was radioactive. Then he nodded. "Once. I want to go with you." What happened next was a blur. Chelsea's parents were called. A school board meeting was arranged. Lawyers showed up. Statements were made. The recording wasn't perfect, a lot of background noise, but it was enough. You could hear Rollins making comments, suggestive ones. You could hear him tell Chelsea to stay behind after class. You could hear the way her voice changed when they were alone. It wasn't a smoking gun, but it was fire. Within 2 weeks, Rollins was put on administrative leave. Another week later, he resigned quietly for personal reasons. No formal charges were filed. The district said they didn't find sufficient grounds for criminal prosecution, but offered Chelsea's family a settlement to avoid a civil suit. Disgusting, but not surprising. Jacob didn't speak much during those weeks, but when we walked out of the final meeting, where Rollins officially handed in his resignation, he turned to me and asked, "Did we do the right thing?" I didn't have a clean answer, so I said the only thing I truly believed. We did the only thing we could. That night, Chelsea came over. Just the two of them sat on the porch for over an hour. I didn't eavesdrop, but I saw them both cry. Saw her hold his hand. Saw him finally let his shoulders drop, like he was finally letting go of the tension he'd been carrying for months. When she left, Jacob came inside and said, "She's moving schools next semester." I nodded. He added, "I'm glad I met her, even if it was all this." Then he went to bed, and for the first time in months, he actually slept through the night. Spring came late that year, or maybe I just hadn't noticed the seasons changing. It had been a few months since everything went down, since Rollins left the school, since Jacob started sleeping again, since Chelsea transferred. Life had returned to something like normal, but it wasn't the same. Jacob was still quiet, but no longer withdrawn. He started spending more time at the community center, helping out with the younger kids. He even rejoined the school's debate club, though he insisted on staying out of anything administrative. He still didn't trust adults, and honestly, I couldn't blame him. One day I picked him up after practice. As he got in the car, he said something that stuck with me. "You know what I learned from all this?" I glanced at him. "What's that?" "That sometimes, When something bad happens, adults don't fix it. Not because they can't, but because they don't want to deal with the fallout. I didn't know what to say to that. So I said nothing, because he wasn't wrong. A few weeks later, Chelsea called. Jacob didn't tell me what they talked about, just that she was doing better. She'd started therapy, was making friends at her new school. Her mom got a new job out of town, and they were moving again. I don't think he'll see her for a long time, Jacob said quietly. You want to? He shrugged. Yeah, but maybe it's better this way. She deserves a fresh start, one that doesn't have him in the background. I nodded. Then I said something I hadn't told him before. You were brave. What you did, it was dangerous. But it was brave. He didn't look up from his cereal, but he whispered, Thanks. That weekend I got a letter in the mail from the school district. It wasn't an apology. Not exactly. But it acknowledged the incident and informed me that they were reviewing staff training protocols and strengthening guidelines for classroom interactions. PR language. But still it was something. Jacob read the letter over my shoulder and scoffed. That's it. It's not justice, I admitted. But it's not silence either. He thought for a second, then tossed the letter in the trash. We never heard from Rollins again. I don't know where he went. I don't care. Some nights, though, I catch myself wondering how many others were there before Chelsea? How many other kids kept quiet because they thought no one would believe them? Because no one did until a teenager took a risk no adult was willing to. It's funny how some moments divide your life into before and after. Before this, I was a parent who assumed the school was safe. After I knew better. Before I thought my son was just angry. After I saw he was scared, hurt, determined. Before I believed that if something serious happened, the right people would handle it. After I knew sometimes you have to be the right person. One night, I found Jacob on the porch. He was staring up at the stars. You okay? I asked. Yeah, he said, just thinking. I sat beside him. He didn't say much more, and he didn't need to, because sometimes just surviving something is enough. Not winning, not punishing, just surviving. Update. 3 months later, Jacob finished the school year strong. He's applying to colleges now, says he might want to study law. Chelsea's mom sent us a thank you card from their new city. She says Chelsea is doing great. The school hired a new English teacher, young guy, fresh out of grad school. Everyone likes him. Things move on, but I'll never forget that year. And I'll never stop wishing I'd acted sooner. If you like this video, please subscribe for more.